Have you ever wondered what lies beyond the stars? A place untouched by gods, unseen by mortals, where silence hums with secrets too vast to name. Long ago, Olympus stood high, its halls bright with immortal steps. Yet even then, mysteries stretched farther than the eye, deeper than any divine memory. This is the story of Zeus. Not as a thunder wielder, not as the stormbringer, but as a seeker, drawn by wonder, chasing a question older than time itself. They called it the veil of chaos, a shimmer at the edge of existence. Not light, not darkness, but something in between, pulsing with the breath of creation. Few dared to speak of it. None wished to touch it. And yet, it stirred within Zeus, king of the gods, son of Kronos, ruler of the skies. What happens when the Lord of Order faces the unknown? What wisdom waits in the still heart of chaos? Stay with me. Tonight, we open the veil. The night spread clear over Olympus. Stars sharp and bright. Torches flickering in marble halls that seemed carved to last forever. Zeus stood on the highest terrace, robes stirring in the wind, his eyes drawn to something strange beyond the constellations he knew so well. It was not a star, not a comet, not the glow of a planet. It shimmered faintly, folding and unfolding, as if the sky itself were breathing. At first he thought it a trick of sight, the kind of mirage seen on desert heat or on the sea. But this light did not fade. It pulsed gently, as if patient, waiting. A secret too quiet to be ignored, holding steady at the very edge of existence. Zeus narrowed his gaze. He was the lord of skies, master of clouds and thunder. Yet this shimmer lay beyond his reach and rule. He lifted a hand as if to touch it. The silence around him deepened, not the silence of night, but a hush that felt older than time. "Strange," he murmured, voice lost in the wind. "What are you?" Behind him, Olympus glowed with laughter and feasting. Music rose, wine spilled. But Zeus felt only the tug of that light. It seemed not an image, but a threshold, folding into itself, opening into something unseen, something that invited his gaze deeper. Whispers from memory stirred tales told in youth, of chaos, the first breath before sky, sea, or earth, the vast possibility before creation. The shimmer carried that echo. It did not belong to heaven or earth. It belonged to something far older, a memory of beginnings, all pressed into him. He had cast down titans, raised Olympus, ruled the order of gods. Yet here was something beyond even his grasp. The shimmer unfurled for an instant, like a curtain moved by unseen hands, showing not stars, but a swirling depth without form. Zeus stepped back. The marble beneath his feet felt fragile, as though Olympus itself floated on greater, hidden seas. Could the others see it? Would Athena, sharp of mind, or Hera, watchful and wise, notice what stirred beyond the heavens? But no, the veil had revealed itself to him, and to him alone. Its light pulsed steady, as if aware, as if it waited. His hand clenched at his side. He ruled storms, commanded thunder, shook mountains. Yet this was not for power, not for might. It was for wonder. The veil shimmered again and stilled, patient as breath. It was not fleeting. It would not be forgotten. He stood long in silence while Olympus feasted behind him, the music fading to nothing against the weight of his thoughts. What is a king, he wondered, if not master of order? Yet what if something lay beyond order, untamed and unruled? The stars burned on, steady as ever. But the shimmer lingered, unblinking, its presence quiet and sure as the night itself. At last, Zeus turned away. Yet as he walked back into Olympus, he knew this was only the beginning. For once the veil reveals itself, it calls until it is answered. And Zeus, son of Kronos, king of gods, would answer. The dawn rose golden over Olympus, mist curling on the slopes, the halls shining as though carved from morning light. Zeus had not slept. The shimmer lingered in his thoughts all night, steady as a heartbeat he could not ignore. When the first rays touched the sky, he summoned the gods. The council chamber filled with immortals, radiant and eternal. A quiet curiosity moved among them. Rarely did Zeus call council unannounced. Rarer still at the break of day. Athena's sharp eyes studied her father. "Something troubles you," she said. "Speak, and let us weigh its meaning." Zeus rose, solemn, presence heavy as thunder. He spoke of the shimmer, the veil that pulsed at the edge of the heavens. Silence fell. Even immortals stilled, their thoughts drawn back to whispers of beginnings older than memory. Poseidon leaned forward, voice deep. "The sea knows its depths. I have felt no shimmer. Perhaps it is illusion." Hermes laughed lightly, though unease flickered. "An illusion that unsettles the king of gods? Rare indeed." Hera's gaze sharpened. "Do not seek it. Some mysteries belong to the void. To pry too far may invite what should not be." Athena lifted her hand. "The old texts speak of a boundary. Chaos, they called it. The stirring before all else. A murmur rippled through the gods. No one spoke against her. Chaos was not a name uttered lightly." Apollo's golden voice broke the silence. "If it is chaos, perhaps it holds wisdom. All beginnings spring from it." But Demeter shook her head. "Wisdom, yes, but truths too deep unmake. Seeds cannot grow if soil is torn apart." The gods debated, voices rising and falling, caution, curiosity, warning all tangled in the chamber's air. Zeus listened in silence, his gaze far, as if watching the shimmer still, beyond their sight. At last he raised his hand. The chamber quieted. Even immortal voices stilled like winds before a storm. "I have heard your counsel," Zeus said. "Yet what I saw was no dream. It calls, and I cannot turn away." Athena's eyes softened. "If you go, go with wisdom. Do not seek to master it. Seek only to understand." Zeus inclined his head, but his decision was already firm. The veil had revealed itself by design, not by chance. The council ended. The gods departed heavy with thought. But Zeus lingered, gaze lifted once more to the bright sky. The shimmer was not visible in daylight, yet he felt it still, steady, patient, waiting. It was not illusion. It was invitation. And Zeus, king of Olympus, would answer. The shimmer haunted Zeus. By day he ruled. By night he watched the stars. Always it lingered, patient, waiting at the edge of vision. At last he sought the oracle, where mortals prayed and kings bowed. Even the gods listened when her voice carried prophecy. He descended in secret, cloaked as a wanderer. Some questions could not be asked in Olympus. They needed silence, humility, and mystery. The temple was dim, filled with laurel smoke. The oracle sat swaying, her eyes distant, her breath heavy with voices not her own. "You have seen it," she whispered. "The shimmer at the edge, the veil that waits, the silence before the word." Zeus pulled back his hood. "I have seen it. Tell me, oracle, what is this veil? What does it mean for gods and men alike?" The flames flickered, though no wind stirred. Her eyes rolled white, her voice echoing deeper than mortal sound. "It is the boundary of all things. Chaos at rest, unborn, untouched. Not threat, not gift. The breath before creation, the silence before song. Why then has it revealed itself? Why to me?" Zeus asked, his voice low and steady. "Because you are king, yet not whole," the oracle replied. "You rule, but do not see. You command, but do not listen." Her voice sharpened. "The veil stirs when order grows blind, when certainty forgets the soil from which it rose." Zeus stood silent. The words struck, not as insult, but as lightning that revealed truth in the night. "Know this," she continued. "The veil will not yield to thunder or force. It answers only to truth, to the heart laid bare." Her whisper deepened. "When you stand before it, you will face not power, but choice. To know all, or to walk in mystery. To bind or to trust. Choose carefully. for all that follows will rest upon that choice. The flame steadied. The air grew still, as though every stone had listened and held the weight of her words. Zeus lowered his gaze. He was king of gods, yet reminded he was not master of all. Some truths lay beyond crowns and thunder. The oracle sagged, her voice softening. Go. The veil will wait, but not forever. It calls. You must decide how you will answer. He left the temple in silence. Outside, the sky was bright, but he carried with him a weight vast as the heavens. The oracle gave no path, no map, only a riddle that power could not solve, only wisdom. That night, the veil shimmered again above Olympus, faint, steady, patient. And Zeus, though silent, felt his heart begin to answer. The oracle's words lingered in Zeus's mind, heavy as thunder. The veil was no longer silence. It was a call, a question that demanded more than command. There were beings older than Olympus who knew beginnings and endings. The Moirai, the Fates, spinners of destiny, weavers of all lives. Zeus journeyed to them not as king, but as seeker. The path wound deep into caverns where light dimmed and echoes slowed, where even time moved with patience. 3 sisters bent over their loom. Clotho spun threads from the void. Lachesis measured with calm precision. Atropos waited, her shears sharp, her hands steady. They did not look up when Zeus entered. The glow of countless threads wove and unwove across their hands. Perhaps all creation balanced there. At last, Lachesis raised her gaze. You come as seeker, not ruler, she said. What draws you here, king of Olympus? I have seen the veil, Zeus answered. A shimmer at the heaven's edge. Tell me, Fates, what does it mean for gods and men alike? Clotho's voice rose, soft and steady. It is the loom beyond ours, chaos waiting, the breath before order, the silence before creation. Lachesis measured the glowing strand. It stirs when balance falters, when rulers forget beginnings, when certainty blinds, even thrones. Atropos lifted her shears but did not cut. It is not ours to weave, not ours to end. It belongs only to itself. The oracle spoke of choice, Zeus said. But how can I choose when the veil lies beyond my grasp? Clotho spun another thread, her eyes distant. You mistake it for a riddle. It is not. It is a mirror. What you bring, it will return. Lachesis leaned close. Come with fear, and it reflects fear. Demand, and it stays silent. But truth may open it. Atropos lowered her shears, her voice cold. Even truth has a cost. To see beyond is to bear what cannot be unseen. Will you endure it? The chamber pulsed with the rhythm of the loom. For all his thunder, Zeus felt humbled, small before forces that measured gods themselves. He spoke at last. If it is a mirror, I must face it as I am, not as I wish to be. I will not force it, but I will not turn away. The sisters nodded as one. Clotho spun. Lachesis measured. Atropos raised her shears, but the thread was left uncut. You may go, Zeus, said Lachesis. The veil waits. It will not test your thunder but your heart. Zeus bowed his head, rare for the king of Olympus. Then he turned and left the cavern, leaving the endless loom behind. Outside, the sky stretched bright and eternal. Yet beneath its clarity, the shimmer waited, closer than before, patient as the weaving of fate. No thread was cut, but his path had shifted. The loom had not bound him, but their words shaped the choice he carried forward. The veil no longer waited in silence. It waited in promise. The words of the fates clung to Zeus like threads that would not break. The veil was a mirror. It would reflect truth, not power. He left their cavern, but shadows stirred at the edge of his vision. They moved with will, not the calm shade of night. Whispers drifted, low and curling. They were carried not by wind, but by silence itself. Zeus stopped. He was not alone. The shadows thickened, weaving like smoke. They did not strike, did not threaten. They lingered, like messengers, waiting to be heard. A voice rose thin and echoing. "You seek the veil." It was not a question. It was a knowing. Zeus straightened. "I do. And what are you? Phantom? Memory?" The shadows rippled. "We are what remains, where light does not reach. The whispers of beginnings, the fragments of endings, the silence between God's words. Shadows do not speak," Zeus said. "They follow, they vanish." "Do they?" the voice asked. "When you cast thunder, what walks beside its light? When men build temples, what pools beneath the stones?" The air grew colder, whispers multiplied, weaving together like a tide. Some sharp like questions, some soft like regrets, some strangely familiar. "You carry doubt," they murmured. "You seek truth, but fear what you will find. You are king, yet uncertain. Thunder, without answer." Zeus clenched his hand, sparks flickering. "I am not afraid." The shadows laughed, not cruel, but knowing. "Then why do you seek? Kings certain of themselves do not kneel before fates." He caught his breath. He had knelt. He had asked. In that act, he had admitted what gods rarely dared, that he did not know. The shadows pressed closer. "You cannot command the veil. You cannot bind it. You cannot strike it down. You can only listen, only choose." One rose taller, voice clearer. "The veil is not beyond you. It is within you. It stirs because you stir. It waits because you hesitate. It calls because you, King of Olympus, are ready at last to hear." The shimmer he had seen was not distant. It was tied to him, as much a part of him as thunder in his veins. He lowered his hand. Lightning faded. "What then must I do?" The shadows drew back, retreating like mist before dawn. Only one remained, its voice softer now. "When the veil opens, it will not show the world. It will show you yourself. Be ready, for what you see will shape what is to come." The air warmed, the shadows thinned, dissolving into the light. Soon, only silence remained. Zeus stood alone, yet he knew it was no dream. The whispers lingered in his mind, heavy as the words of the oracle and the fates. The veil was not only a boundary of the cosmos, it was a boundary within him. When he crossed it, he would not face chaos alone. He would face himself. That night, the shimmer was brighter than ever. No longer faint, no longer distant. It pulsed in rhythm with his heart, and Zeus wondered not what the veil was, but what it would reveal of him. The veil shimmered in the sky, but Zeus felt its weight not only in Olympus. It pressed down across the mortal world. On earth, people looked upward with questions in their eyes. They prayed louder, offerings piled higher, temples filled with voices. Zeus listened, not with ears, but with the pulse of their faith. Every voice reached him, woven together like waves against a shore. Some prayed for safety, fearing the veil was a storm waiting to break. Others prayed for hope, believing it might open paths unseen. One village prayed not with fear, but with song. Their voices rose in harmony, soft yet steady, a hymn to light beyond darkness. Zeus paused. The song touched him. Mortals had no thunder, no divine strength, yet they held courage in fragile hearts. He realized the veil was not just his trial. It rippled through every life, mortal and immortal, weaving their fates together. The whispers of shadows had said it was within him. But here, in mortal voices, he felt it beyond him too. A child whispered a prayer so small it nearly slipped away. "Let tomorrow be brighter." No plea for power, only light. Zeus's chest tightened. That fragile hope was heavier than all the thunder he could summon. The veil was not only chaos, it was possibility. And mortals, fragile though they were, could sense it with clarity. Gods often lost. He stood on Olympus, but their voices rose through him like a tide. For the first time, he listened as both god and seeker. Perhaps the veil did not demand command or strength. Perhaps it asked for what mortals already carried: truth, courage, and hope. The hymn lingered, soft yet unbroken. weaving with the shimmer of the veil itself. Zeus closed his eyes and listened. And for a heartbeat, God and mortal were not apart, but bound by the same longing for light within the unknown. The veil had stirred the fates. It had whispered through shadows. It had echoed in the voices of mortals. Now it reached the very heart of Olympus. Zeus knew he could not walk this path alone. A king's burden was not to rule in silence, but to gather those who shared his world. So he summoned the council of the gods. Olympus rose higher than any mountain. Its halls gleamed with golden light, and every column seemed alive with memory. From the throne of storms, Zeus called his kin. One by one, they came. Hera, queen and guardian of order, her eyes sharp as polished stone. Athena, wisdom unshaken, carrying calm reason like a shield. Apollo, radiant, voice full of song and prophecy. Artemis, silent but watchful, as keen as the moon over the hunt. Hermes, restless, his step quick, his words quicker still. Poseidon, fierce yet steady, his presence rolling like waves against a shore. And even Hades, solemn and reserved, emerging like a shadow from the underworld's veil. The hall filled with voices, each carrying their own weight. But all knew the air was different. Even the gods felt the pull of the veil. Zeus rose, his voice carried like thunder but softened at its edges. You have seen it, as I have. The veil shimmers. It stirs not only the sky, but the hearts of mortals and immortals alike. It is not storm nor battle, not enemy nor ally. It is something more, something that calls. Hera spoke first, her tone edged with caution. A king should not bend to what he does not know. Order is kept by strength, not by yielding to shadows. Athena countered, her words measured. Wisdom is not weakness, Hera. To listen is not to yield, but to understand. Perhaps the veil is a test, not of power, but of sight. Poseidon struck his trident against the floor, sea spray rising in his wake. Tests or not, I will not have it swallow the seas. The mortals already fear the tides. Their faith falters when they see you hesitate, brother. Apollo's eyes glowed with golden fire. I have sung of dawns that rose from darkness. Perhaps this veil is such a dawn. To fear it is to fear light before it breaks. Hades spoke then, his voice low and even. The veil touches the boundary between life and what lies beyond. I feel it pressing even against the gates of my realm. It does not belong to mortals or gods. It belongs to what was before us. The hall grew tense. Some leaned toward caution, others toward curiosity. But Zeus listened. He did not thunder, did not command. He listened. Hermes broke the silence with a half-smile. If it is a door, someone must step through. The question is not what it is, but who will face it first. Eyes turned toward Zeus. It was he the veil called. Zeus drew a long breath. The oracle spoke of choice. The fates spoke of reflection. The shadows spoke of truth. Mortals sing to it as if it is hope itself. I will not meet it with fear. I will not strike at it blindly. I will meet it as I am, but I will not meet it alone. Athena inclined her head. Then we must stand with you, for if the veil is a mirror, it will reflect us all. Hera, though wary, placed her hand upon Zeus's arm. Then let Olympus not fracture. Let us face it together, even if we cannot all cross its threshold. A murmur of assent filled the hall. Not unity in certainty, but unity in resolve. The council ended, but its weight lingered. The veil shimmered brighter that night, as if listening, and Zeus knew the time of choice drew closer still. The veil shimmered across the heavens, but Zeus knew the path ahead was not through sky or stone. It was a journey inward. He had walked through oracles, shadows, and councils. He had heard voices of gods, mortals, and whispers older than time. Now, silence was his companion. Olympus lay behind him, the mountain quiet as if holding its breath. The constellations glittered, distant and cautious, as if watching him cross a hidden threshold. Zeus closed his eyes. He did not summon thunder or lightning. He let the weight of his own heartbeat guide him. Inside, Memories stirred. He saw himself as a child, spared by Rhea's courage. He saw the Titan Naumachie, the struggle that crowned his reign. He saw thunder claimed, lightning forged, Olympus raised high. Beneath all victories lay something quieter, a thread of fear, of doubt, of the need to prove himself. The veil pulsed in answer, as if waiting for this unveiling. Zeus stepped deeper into the corridors of his spirit. He heard Hera's counsel, Athena's wisdom, Poseidon's anger, Apollo's song, Hermes' laughter, Artemis's stillness, Hades' truth. He heard mortal hymns rising like fragile stars. Some begged for power, some for mercy, but many simply hoped. They hoped for dawn, for light, for tomorrow. Then came silence, silence he once drowned in thunder, silence that now spoke louder than storms. In that stillness, the veil appeared before his inner eye. It shimmered, sharp and impossible to turn from. Zeus reached out with heart, not hand. The veil unfolded. He did not see enemies or chaos tearing at creation. He saw himself, the child, once hidden in a cave, the youth who fought with fire in his veins and fear in his chest, the ruler who feared silence more than storm. The whole of him, unshaped, undeniable. Zeus trembled. For all his battles, nothing demanded more courage than this. To look into himself without flinching, the veil pulsed brighter. Chaos was not destruction. It was the breath before order, the silence before words, the dark before dawn. It was not to be feared, but faced. Not to be conquered, but chosen. Zeus let out a breath that carried centuries. The storm within him softened. Thunder no longer felt like command, but harmony. When he opened his eyes, the stars were no longer distant. They gleamed with warmth, with quiet approval. The veil no longer loomed as threat. It lingered, like a silent companion. Zeus turned back toward Olympus. No battle had been fought, no lightning cast. Yet he carried a weapon sharper than all others. Truth. The veil would not decide fate. It would reflect it. What he brought to it, fear or hope, would shape what came after. Zeus walked back to his throne, not as the same king, but as one who had seen himself, and through himself, creation. The journey inward was done. Its echo would guide him forever. The veil had shown Zeus the silence within himself, the truth he had long avoided. But no journey ended in solitude. The cosmos whispered of another voice, an old rival, an uneasy ally, Prometheus. The Titan of foresight had long carried a wound carved by fire and chains. Zeus had punished him for giving flame to mortals. Yet across the ages, that gift had never dimmed. It had burned in the hearths of villages, in the torches of travelers, in the hearts of dreamers. Now, as Zeus walked among the stars, he felt the echo of that fire. Not as defiance, but as reminder. Creation was not shaped by gods alone. Mortals, fragile as they were, carried light into darkness. Prometheus appeared not bound, not broken, but luminous. His eyes held no bitterness, only flame. King of Olympus, he said softly, have you come to unmake what I began, or to finally see what it means? Zeus stood silent. Thunder trembled in his chest, but he did not release it. Instead, he listened. Prometheus stretched out his hand, holding a steady flame. This fire was never only warmth, nor only power. It is vision, choice, and courage. You feared it would defy you, but Zeus, it completes you. The words struck deeper than any chain, heavier than any storm, for in them lay no challenge, no rebellion, only truth. Zeus remembered the veil, the mirror of his own spirit. There he had seen silence and reflection. Here, before Prometheus, he saw its answer, the spark that turned silence into voice, chaos into creation. The Titan stepped closer. Mortals carry the flame as you carry the storm, but fire and thunder are not enemies. They are kin, each born of chaos, each seeking order. Zeus's hand trembled as he reached for the flame. Not to seize it, not to snuff it, but to share in its glow. When he touched it, the fire did not burn him. It wove into his lightning, into his heartbeat, into the silence he had embraced. For the first time, thunder and fire sang together. The sound was not fury, but harmony. An echo that traveled through sky and stone, through gods and mortals alike. Prometheus smiled. The gift was never against you, Zeus. It was for all, even for you. And in that moment, the chains of old resentments fell away. Not by force, not by decree, but by choice. The Titan who had defied him was no longer enemy. He was ally, mirror, and friend. The cosmos shifted. The veil stirred, glowing brighter, awakened by the flame. Zeus saw mortals building, dreaming, reaching for stars, their hands lit by fire, their paths guided by thunder, not ruled, not crushed, but inspired. Zeus spoke at last. I feared what mortals might become if given too much. But now I see they become more when trusted, when guided, when given the chance to choose. Prometheus's flame flickered warmly. That is the truth of creation. Chaos gives birth to choice, and choice gives birth to meaning. Zeus bowed his head not in defeat, but in respect. He had listened to shadows, to fates, to silence, and now to fire. Each voice had led him here. Here, where thunder and flame stood as one. The gift of Prometheus was no longer defiance. It was a promise. That light would always rise, not only from gods, but from every spark. As Zeus turned back toward Olympus, the flame remained with him, not in his hand, not in chains, but in his heart. The storm within him had found its counterpart, and the journey, once burdened by fear, now blazed with possibility. The veil shimmered, and for the first time, it did not feel distant. It felt near. It felt alive. It felt ready. The veil shimmered brighter than ever, as though Prometheus's flame had awakened its hidden heart. It did not call Zeus forward, nor push him away. It simply was, waiting. Zeus stood before it, not as conqueror, but as one who had listened and carried voices of gods, mortals, and titans. The storm within him was quiet. The fire glowed steady. The silence he once feared had become his guide. The veil rippled, its surface now sharper, clearer. A mirror. Zeus leaned closer, and in its depths, he did not see Olympus rising high. He saw himself. At first, it was Zeus. The world knew the thunderer, the king, wielder of lightning. His crown glowed. His hand crackled with storm. But as the reflection deepened, layers fell away. He saw the boy hidden in a cave, spared by Gaia's earth. He saw the youth lifting stone against titans, heart burning with rage and fear. He saw the ruler wielding strength to mask uncertainty. The mirror revealed all of him: shadow, doubt, and spark of hope. Then it shifted again. He saw Hera's gaze, fierce yet wounded by his pride. Athena's wisdom, bright as a torch, guiding wars and councils. Poseidon's storms, restless and jealous. Hades, solemn and silent, bearing unseen realms. He saw Hermes' laughter, Apollo's song, Artemis's hunt. And beyond the gods, he saw mortals building, striving, rising again. Their prayers rose not from fear, but longing. The mirror pulsed. Chaos was not a beast to fight, nor a storm to master. It was reflection, every voice, every choice, every breath of creation staring back. Prometheus's words echoed. Chaos gives birth to choice. Choice gives birth to meaning. Zeus's reflection reached for him not rival, not king, but companion. The mirror gave no answers, only truth. Whatever came next would be shaped by what he carried. Zeus no longer felt alone in his power. Thunder was his song, not his burden. Fire was kinship, not rebellion. Silence was clarity, not void. The veil shimmered, breathing with him, inhale, exhale, alive. The mirror demanded nothing. It offered balance, and in that balance, Zeus felt hope, not only for gods, not only for mortals, but for all existence. He lifted his hand, not to break, not to claim, but to touch with reverence. The surface rippled, cool and endless. Images swirled, rivers winding, stars born, forests breathing, mortals lighting fires. Not chaos, not order, but both, dancing together. Zeus whispered, "The mirror does not judge. It reflects. What I bring to it becomes truth. The mirror stilled. Its surface became clear as water, holding his reflection without distortion. For the first time, Zeus did not see Storm, king, or conqueror. He saw himself as part of the whole, a thread in the tapestry, not the hand that wove it. The veil did not close. It opened, not outward, but inward, revealing paths of choice. The mirror of chaos showed him not what to fear, but what to become. And Zeus, once burdened by Storm, now carried a lighter crown. The Fates stood before Zeus, their loom shimmering with threads that glowed, faded, and intertwined. Each strand was a life, a choice, a possibility, unfolding in silence. Clotho, gentle yet firm, held a spindle that never ceased spinning. She looked at Zeus and said, "Every beginning is fragile, but it carries the seed of eternity." Lachesis stretched her hand, measuring the threads with calm precision. She whispered, "It is not the length that matters, but what fills the measure." Atropos, with scissors shining like starlight, gazed steadily. She spoke, "An ending is not a cruelty, but the closing of a circle that allows another to begin." Zeus felt the weight of their words press into him like the pulse of the loom. The threads shimmered, weaving gods, mortals, rivers, storms, and even silence into one pattern. He saw his own thread, bright, jagged, winding, touched by storms and softened by fire. It danced with others, never alone, never separate, always crossing paths. The Fates spoke together, their voices like wind weaving through branches. They said, "Chaos is not the tearing of threads. It is the loom itself, the space in which all can be woven." Zeus realized then that the veil, the mirror, and even his own storms were part of this greater weaving. He was not the hand that controlled it, but a strand among many, strong and necessary. The loom pulsed once, threads glowing brighter, like stars acknowledging his awareness. Clotho smiled softly. Even gods must learn they are woven, not only weavers. Zeus bowed his head, not in defeat, but in reverence. The storm inside him calmed to a steady rhythm, like thunder blending with rain. The Fates placed the spindle, the measure, and the scissors back into the loom. They said no more. The loom itself spoke in silence, its weaving endless, its threads alive. Zeus turned from the Fates, carrying not certainty, but clarity. His thread was not isolated. It was part of a vast, unbreakable design. And in that truth, he found balance. The veil pulsed softly before Zeus, breathing in rhythm with him, alive and waiting. All his journeys had led him here, carrying fire, silence, balance, and reflection. Chaos stood before him, not as an enemy, not as a servant, but as a canvas. The gods stirred in his memory: Hera, Athena, Poseidon, Hades, each voice pulling at him. He felt the prayers of mortals, fragile yet strong, rising like sparks into the sky. The Titans' shadows lingered too, no longer foes, but echoes in the weaving. Every thread tugged at his heart. Every path whispered for his choice. Chaos offered no crown, no victory, only a mirror and a question. He saw his past storms wielded as weapons, silence masked by thunder. He saw what endured, not fear, but the hope that followed storms. He remembered Prometheus's flame, dangerous, yet warm, creative, a spark of divinity. He thought of the Fates, the loom weaving him as one strand among many. To tear away others would unravel himself. He breathed deeply, thunder steady within. No longer anger, but rhythm. The veil asked only one thing: how will you walk forward? Zeus lifted his hand and whispered, "I will not rule through fear. I will not drown in silence or hide behind storm. I will listen. I will share. I will weave with others." The veil brightened, not in fury, but in gentle radiance. It reflected his choice and gave it back, magnified with promise. He saw Olympus united, mortals rising with courage, shadows softening. Chaos dissolved, flowing into all things, waiting to be shaped. Zeus stood still, crown heavy, yet lighter than ever before. He knew storms would return, doubts would whisper, shadows would rise, but he knew too that he was not alone. Creation was never a solitary act. It was woven by all. Zeus turned back to Olympus, sky wide and clear above. The storm followed, not as burden, but as song and promise. The final choice was not an ending. It was a beginning.